world saturated in wealth and gold and prosperity beyond her wildest dreams or anyone's wildest dreams at that time. And so what she did was went, good job, Columbus. Here's 1,500 men. Here's a whole bunch of weapons. Here's cannons and swords and muskets and things of that nature. So Columbus went back to the New World, this time loaded for bear, pack and heat, armed to the teeth. And when he got there, the same natives that helped him when his ship was kind of shipwrecked, he was like, okay, see this pointy thing? This can kill you. I would like to have food and gold, and I would like for my men to be allowed to have sex with your women. When they're like, hey, that doesn't sound okay to us, Columbus responded by ordering that their ears and noses be cut off so that the now disfigured natives could return to their villages without their ears, without their noses, and serve as a warning to other people. You can only poke people for so long before they rebel, and that's exactly what they did. Although it's not really like they were rebelling. It was sort of like there's these invaders that have come across the sea that we've never met before, and they're chopping off our extremities. We should do something about this. And because there was aggression from them, Columbus saw this as a great excuse to go to battle. He had advanced weapons, and it was a very short-lived conflict. Natives slaughtered. They were throwing rocks. Maybe they had spears. They were operating on a slightly unlevel playing field in terms of fighting off Columbus. And because food was scarce, they fed the natives after they'd been killed to hunting dogs, some of them while they were still alive. Here's the thing. He offed a whole bunch of natives. He subjugated a people, but Columbus still did not have the gold he was after, and he didn't want to go back to Isabella empty-handed. So he rounded up 500 of these natives, chained them below the decks of his ships, and returned them to Spain so they could be sold as slaves to make up for the cost of the voyage. He took 500 to sell into slavery. 300 of those survived. Another 500 natives were enslaved and kept in the New World. They were forced to feed, care for, and carry Columbus's men around on their backs. So a lot of these natives took off to the mountains to escape enslavement. And the people that took off headed for the hills, ran to the hills, as they said in the Iron Maiden song. White men came across the sea. Yeah, as they said in Run to the Hills. When they did run to the hills, Columbus's men ran after these refugees, hunted them down for sport. After killing them, again, they were dog food. Still not enough gold, though, so what Columbus did was he set up what he called a tribute system, where natives who brought him gold would get a token to wear around their necks, and this token gave them a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card for a little bit, so they wouldn't be required to produce gold until the token expired. It was, tribute system. But if you were native without a token and you weren't meeting the gold quota, you were going to be punished. And, if you were punished, the punishment was instead of wearing a token around your neck, which was a sign that you'd given the appropriate amount of gold and you had a get out of jail free situation for a little while. If you did not have enough gold, what they would do is Columbus's men would cut off your hand and force you to wear that around your neck instead. Although barbaric, it got Columbus what he wanted, gold. And he kind of figured it was time to party a little bit. So Columbus started rewarding his lieutenants with sex slaves, especially young girls who had been forced into sexual slavery. And in a letter to a friend, Columbus remarked how the girls between the ages of 9 and 10 could be used as currency. Yeah. He said in 1500, 8 years after the whole thing first started transpiring, after he sailed the ocean blue, he said, 100 castellanos are as easily obtained for a woman as for a farm, and it is very general. And there are plenty of dealers who go about looking for girls. Those from 9 to 10 are now in demand. He sold 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds. And in addition to smallpox and diseases which wiped out huge segments of the native population, the sudden influx of forced labor in the New World resulted in a mass imbalance in the ecology and workforce of the native people, and it was kind of like this big deal. And it's estimated that over the next 50 years, the final death toll from starvation, disease, just general offing people, basically, the number of deaths on Columbus's hands, when all was said and done, 3 to 5 million people. So, while folks go, oh, gee whiz, do we really need to change the name of Columbus Day? I mean, we've had Columbus Day our entire life. Let the myth live on. He was just this guy. He was just this guy that discovered that the world was not flat, and, without him, no America, and America's great. And here's the thing. I get that. I really do. But we live in this age of information now where stuff like this is readily available at fingertips. And when, you had the entire country perpetuating a myth that was not true about this guy because it was a nice way to take a day off and go, yay, he discovered the new world and without him, no America, USA, USA, USA. That's all good. But now, thanks to the Google, any child can pull up the information that we just discussed. And because any child can pull up the information that we just discussed, when their teacher tells them one thing about Columbus sailing the ocean blue in 1492 and discovering the New World and without him, no America, and the kid finds out that he was a genocidal maniac with the blood of 3 to 5 million people on his hands, that's going to send a bit of a mixed message. So if we don't change the name from Columbus Day, we ought to do something that makes it totally clear that we are honoring the myth of a guy who gave us America, as opposed to the genocidal, bloodlusty, gold-hungry maniac that he actually was. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think it does. Funkhouser, how much time we got?
Like 3 minutes.
Like 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Right on. Let's talk about faith for a second. I don't know if we have time to do all this. I don't know where you fall on the religious side of things, whether you're an atheist, an agnostic, a Christian, a Catholic, a Muslim, a Jew. But faith is important. I think faith is important to understand and recognize, even if you don't have it yourself. Never really thought Andrew WK, Party Till You Puke, that guy, would be the one to hit the nail on the head in such a succinct way when it comes to faith and spirituality. But an atheist wrote to an advice columnist for feedback, Andrew WK, on how to convince his grieving family that prayer is mumbo jumbo after he discovered his brother was diagnosed with cancer. He wrote to the Village Voice and said, "My older brother was diagnosed with cancer last week. My whole family is freaking out and trying to deal with the news. Everyone is trying to find different ways, but something my grandmother said has got me really angry. She said we should just pray for my brother, like prayer would actually save his life." This was Andrew WK's response. He said, "Prayer is a type of thought. It's a lot like meditation, a type of very concentrated mental focus with passionate emotion directed toward a concept or situation or the lack thereof. But there's a special X factor ingredient that makes prayer different than meditation or other types of thought. That X factor is humility. This is the most seemingly contradictory aspect of prayer and what many people dislike about the feeling of praying. Getting down on your knees is not about lowering your power or becoming a weakling. It's about showing respect for the size and grandeur of what we call existence. It's about being humble in the presence of the vastness of life, space, and sensation, and acknowledging our extremely limited understanding. of what it all really means. We can't finish this today. We'll pick it up tomorrow, but it's powerful stuff. Thank you so much for joining me.
Turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being the better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times. I don't think you realize what's on my mind. I've been too nice for way too long. I think I want you to know just what is going on. So bite me, you're a bag of suck. Every second I'm around you I put down some bad luck. And knowing you just sucks every day. And I wish I could find a way to make you go away. So maybe if I just tell you you're a terrible